Hello guys, today we are going to start to the advanced for loop examples in the C++ programming language. As I remember that we have focused on the main feature of the for loops in the previous lessons, but in this lessons we will forward to what the advanced topics on the for loops. Because the for loops is governed by the compiler rules, which means that we have initial conditions, we have conditions, and so we have increment values on the for loop structures, and so we can use a lot of ways by using these selections. Okay, and so firstly, I can check my programs in order to include and adding the main function body into the codes, and so return 0 value and cout hello guys should be given at this moment. And so if I push the Ctrl F5 button in here like this one, the C++ GBB compiler is selected, and so G++ should be selected because we compile the C++ code in this sessions. Okay, and so if I run this code, and then the terminal page gives us to hello guys. Okay, and so also we have the VS Code file in here, launch and task JSON. Task is directly related to the compiler file, and launch is directly related to the debugging session of our codes. Okay, and so firstly this main debugging programs, but we should add the command line in order to split our examples into this one. Okay, firstly we should remember that we can set the integer I value, integer E0 should be added in here like this one, and so cout counter value should be added in the in this page in these forms. Okay, and so if I run this code, and then the counter is going to 0 to 9 value in here. Okay, this is the first example. This is a simple example in here like this one, example 1. Okay, and so the example 2 can be given like this one. Firstly, we should remember that the integer I value can be assigned in this selection like this one. We can set or we can leave the empty space in the beginning of this code, and so I is smaller than 10, and so I++ should be added in here, and then the cout, or we can copy off all of these things into this space, and so we can run this code and we have the same structures. Okay, this is not the compiling error or the runtime error and so we can leave the first page as a empty space in order to run these for loops. Okay, there's no problem in here, you should remember that. Okay, and so we have the another kind of for loop examples in here like this one, example 3, integer I equals 0 and so for I smaller than 10, and so we can leave the end space in here like this one in here, and so if we select this notation in here like this one, and so if I run this code, and we have an endless loop. Okay, because the I is not increased in the time of the for loops. Okay, you should remember that we should increase the I value, but in these selections you should remember that the I++ should not be added in here because the endless loop is going in here. Okay, and so how can we correct this notation like this one? If we set the I is to I++ in here like this one, the algorithm is okay. Okay, because the for loops can give away us to increase the I value in the in the for loop selections. Okay, or inside the for loops. there's no problem in here because we have a condition like this one, and so we can add any condition in here like this one, okay? And so we don't have the mandatory rule to give the first statement into the for loops or and loops in here like this one, but we should give also a condition loops in here like this one. And so this is the analog with the with the while loops, okay? While loops does not contain a first initial condition loop or the end increment loops, okay? By using this way, a for loop is not or is similar with the while loop selections, okay? This is the third example of the for loop session in these lessons, okay? And so we can iterate our algorithms into the give some specific conditions like this one. Firstly, we can use this selection like this one. If I run this code and we have an endless loop, okay? And so I is increased in time because we have a condition in here like this one. And so first statement is empty and second statement is empty, and so conditional statement is also empty in here, which means that the conditional statement is not equal to the 0 in here. And then what? The algorithms is run in the runtime performance, okay? And so if we don't have any condition or unbroken condition, we should check this for loop in order to what? In order to break our algorithms, okay? And so how can we add this as selection in here? If we push if we set the if value or if conditional statements in here like this one, and so e is smaller than 10 or greater than 10, and then we should give the break value in here. And so if I run this code and so 0 to 10 is increased in a way of in a way of the algorithms, okay? Or we can transmit this code into the into the first line of the for loops, and so we can have the same page, okay? And then if we have this kind of information in here, and so the for loops can be used in a lot of way, okay? You should remember that in the C or C++ programming language we have a mandatory rules in order to what? In order to give the syntax rule, which is given in the the compiler sessions, okay? The designer of the language will give us to create the many algorithms or the endless algorithms into the usage of the for loop selection or any conditional loop selections, while selections or for selections or the switch or if values, okay? There's only one rule in here, is that it's a logical rule. If the logics is true, and so the continue or the for loops or the while loops or the any other loops is continue until the until the condition is wrong, okay? This is the first rule of the run to conditional statements in the C++ programming language, okay? And so if we have this kind of notation in here like this one, we can iterate the for loop values in here. Firstly, I can give the cout session in here like this one, the hello guys. In here. This correct or not? If I run this code and voila, hello guys is run at this time. Okay. And so as a result, we can give the any codes in the initial condition statements. There's no syntax error in here, okay? And so we can select or we can push the any codes in the first statements of the for loops, okay? This important matter because in the iteration or iterative class in the C++ programming language, for example, the vector class or link class or map class is iterated by the pointer structures, okay? And so in the nested loops or the class structures, we can utilize these kind of codes, okay? And so we can run these codes like this one. And so there is no syntax error in here. Don't be worried about that, okay? Because the language gives us a way to write a code in anywhere in the for loop structures, okay? And so in order to understand the underlying mechanisms of this code structure, we can iterate our algorithms in a way of what? In a way of this one. This code is transmitted into the what? Into this session. Okay, the for loops in here like this one, and cout loops in here like this one. Okay, and so if I run this code, and then every loop or in every iterations the endly and this endly cout function is called. What does that happen in this code? Firstly, we should initialize all the codes like this one. We can initialize our codes by using this iteration level, and so the code is run on the for loop sections, and so counter is written on the terminal page. And so after that, after the end of the for loops, the code is checked in these sections, the end statement of the for loops. Okay, and so this code is run in order to produce the iteration values, but the language gives us but the different writing code structures in here, and so there is no syntax error in here. But in the runtime performance, there is no runtime error as well. But if you want to know this selection in here like this one, and so we can call any function in here. We can call or we can write any process in here, okay? And so we can design any controller structure in order to give the proper input values to the any systems in the for loops. And so don't be surprised about that. We can use the any algorithms by using these selections, okay? And then if we want to iterate our algorithms into the first or forward examples in here like this one, and so we can select these selections in here. And so if we want to have a specific other code in here like this one, cout hello structures is also given at this moment and leave, okay? And so if you want to use this selection of the code, and so we can terminate off these codes. And so if I run this code, and then there is no syntax error in here. Okay, and so we want the information of how we can implement these code structures in these for loops. Firstly, we should see that we can add this cout hello codes in here, but if you want to add another code in here like this one, we should add the comma values, okay? And so we can add any other codes in here like this one, okay? Or we can add another code in here like this one. Integer k value is equal to the 5, and so cout value k and leave value should be added in here. But in this notation, type name is not allowed in the C++ programming language. Okay, and so if I run this code, and so there are no codes in here like this one, and so this is called the syntax error selections. But if you have this kind of information in here like this one, and so if you add this kind of information in here, and then if you want to use these selections, and so there is always a syntax error in here. And what does tells happens in this code to us? firstly, we should remember that the whole initial condition or the whole assignment operators cannot be implementable with the multiple definition of these selections. Okay, you should remember that. This is a syntax error. But if you have this kind of information in here, like this one, integer k is equalized in here, like this one in here, and so if I run this code, and so there is always a syntax error in here. And then as a result, we cannot define the integer values in here because of the what? Because of these code selections. Dot, comma. If you want to add this selection in here, we should add these operations in here. But this is a syntax error also. And so we cannot initialize the whole values after that, after this process. But we can call the functions. We can apply the functions in here. Okay? And then, if we have this kind of information in here, and k is equal to the what? Equal to 5. If I run this code, and so the 5 is written on the terminal pages. Okay? But if we have this kind of information in here, and so k++ should also be added in here, like this one. And so if I run this code again, and so the k is equal to what? Is equal to 6 value, because the first statement of the for loops is the what? Is calling 1 times in any for loop structures. Okay? And so if I had this notation in here, and so I can transmit this k++ code into the end statement of the for loops, and so if I run this code again, and then the 5, 6, 7, 8, blah blah blah, 15 values is at the end of this code. Okay? And so if I have this kind of iterations in here, and so I can use the comma value, increase the I++ in here also as well. Okay? And so if I run this code, see that the counter 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 values is given in here, because the I++ is increased in here and also increased in here. Okay? And so the iteration is decreased to the what? To 5 times of these code structures. Okay? And so if I had this kind of information in here, and so as well as the cout code is running, is also given at this space. Okay? And so if I run this code, and so the for loops includes the what? Includes also in each iteration these codes. We can include this code running in here, and so code is running in here, counter 8, counter 10 is increased at each time. Okay? And then what? In the conclusions, we can give the some station or some proper functional calling mechanisms into the what? Into the for loops, but we cannot define the new variables in the what? The for loops value, because of the what? In the new definition of the variables, we should use the dot comma operators. Okay? And so, but in the any other loops or in the any other codes, we can use the comma value in order to what? In order to run these codes effectively in the state space. Okay? And so we can copy of all of these things in here, like this one, and then we can copy of these things like in here, the 6 value, and so this cout is terminated, and so if I run this code, the whole the loops is 10 times is calling. Okay? And so if I run again this code, and so 0 to 9 value is obtained in the conditional statements. Okay? And so what happens if we transmit this code into the what? Into this session. Firstly, I can transmit this code in here, like this one. Okay? And so if I run this code, there is no syntax error in here, and so the 10 times this code is running. Okay? And so we can add as well as this code, like this one. Okay? And so if I run again this code, and so there is okay. Okay? And so if I push the comma values in here like this one, and so if I run this code, and so we can add these notations. Okay, and so what happens if we use the if value in here like this one? Firstly, we should remember that we can add this value in here like this one, and so the for value is not used the unexpected expressions values in here because we want to eliminate these notations in here. Okay, and so if we have this kind of information in here, and so if break value in here like this one, and so if I run this code, and then we have a problems in here if we are using the if conditional statements in here, and so we cannot add these notations in here because the conditional statements cannot be used in the for loop structures. Okay, you should remember that we cannot use these conditions in here. In order to create a conditional statements in here, we should utilize the these values or these parentheses, comma, dot, and inside between the two dot comma values. Okay, we should add these algorithms into this place. Okay, and so what about if I had these conditional values in here like this one, and so if I had these notations, and so the algorithms is given to the what? Given to the error value because this is the right place in here, and so I should copy of all of these things in here in order to create a new example session in here like this one. And so if we have this kind of condition, we cannot use the if value, but only we can use the what? These statements. Okay, this mandatory rules. Okay, because if we have this kind of information in here, and then the I value should be proceed in the conditional statements, and so we don't have to use the if value or if statements. Compiler tells us what the for loop has a conditional values or conditional statements, but you want to use the if value into the for loops, and so there's a syntax error in here. Okay, and so if we have this kind of information in here like this one, this is kind of the what? Kind of the if loops in here like the previous examples. Okay, and so if I run this code, and so this code is what is running all the times. Okay, and so these are the basic advanced properties of the for loop structures in the C++ programming language, and so we will move to the what? We will move to the AND operators or the OR operators in the C++ programming language. Okay, and so we can comment all the lines in here like this one. In the example 8, we should create a specific examples in here. Okay, we can delete all the values like this one, and so we can create our examples right now. So assume that we have a condition in here like this one: integer I is equal to the 0, integer k is also equal to the 0. We can move this code into this line. Okay, there's no problem in here like this one. For example, if we have this kind of information in here equal 0, integer k equals 0. Okay, if we have this kind of codes in here, and so we cannot assign the two codes in here like this one. Okay, but we can use this code in here, integer I, integer k, and so I should be initialized like this one, but in here. Okay, there's no problem in here, but the code is endless loop because we give the empty space in here, and so this is not equal to the 0 according to what? According to code rules or the C++ rules. Okay, and so we can increase the I plus plus value in here, K plus plus also value in here, like this one. And so, how can we correct, or how can we collect the whole information coming from the I and K value into one place? We can use the logical rules in here like these ones, okay? And so, if I push this code in here, I smaller than 5 and K smaller than 10 value in here. This is the AND operators in here, and so we can collect, or we can produce some logical values by using what? At the left hand side operators and the right hand side operators. If the I is smaller than 5, this returns to what? The 1 values, okay? And so if the K is smaller than 10, it gives us the what? 1 value. 1 and 1 gives us 1, okay? And so the loops is continue. And so we can give the I value in here like this one, and so the K value in here like this one, okay? And so if I run this code, and so the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but K is smaller than 10, and so the 4 or 5 is smaller than 10. This gives us to what? The 1 value or true value, but the I is not giving the true value in here, and so the code loops is what is ended in here. Or if we have this kind of information in here, the AND gives us these things, but we can produce a new example session like this one. We can use also the OR operators in here. In the OR operators, only the one condition is true is sufficient to what? To going the for loops to what? To ends, okay? And so if I run this code right now, and so the I is increased to the what? To the 9 value. But this condition is wrong. However, the code is running in the for loops because the AND operators or the OR operators produce different versions of the what? Logical rules or logical values as a result of this code, okay? And so one code is sufficient to what? The continuous two loops in the what? In the runtime performance, okay? And so this is how we can use the what and OR operators in here. Or in order to understand the underlying mechanisms in the what, in the AND or loops, we can select this code 0 value or 5 value in here, or we can give the integer j value in here like this one, 3 or 2 value. For example, integer result value is assigned with the what? The I smaller than 10 and j smaller than 1, or the r or and sorry but or and value, and so this is a language process, and so k is smaller than 10, okay? If we have this kind of results in here, and so if I run this code, and so there's no syntax error in here, but the result of this code, the logical result value is assigned to the what? To the result value, and leave should be assigned to the what? To 0 value. Because if the I is smaller than 10 is okay, this returns to 1 value. J is smaller than 1, this is wrong, this returns to what value? The 0 value. And so k is smaller than 10 is okay, and so this returns to the what? The true value in here. But the j is broken the whole conditions, and so due to the AND operators in here like this one, and so the result is equalized to the what? The 0 value or the false value. But if I use these code selections in here like this one, and so if I run this code, and then the logical results gives us the 1 value in here, okay? And so this gives us the result is to what? Result 1 value is here, like this one. And so result 2 value should be assigned with the what? The 3. Okay. And so the first one or the former one is given to 0, and the second one or the latter one is giving us to what? The 1 value in here. And so we can increase our example sessions in here, like this one. The result 3 value is equalized with the what? With the parentheses operators. And so or 1 value in here, like this one. What's the result of the 1 value? For example, the k is smaller than 10 should be changed with what? K is smaller than 2. K is equal to the 5, and so this gives us to what? The wrong value. But if I use the OR operators in here, like this one, with the 1, and so the every results should be equalized to the what? To the 1 value. Okay? Because this condition is wrong, but OR operators is sufficient to what? To 1 value is correct or not. Okay? And so if I change this code a 0 value in here, like this one, and so the 0 should be assigned because the k2 value is wrong. But if I change this code like this one, the 6 value in here, and so the 1 should be assigned. But what happened if we assign the -1 value or non-zero value in here? For example, k should be smaller than 2, and so this statement is wrong. But what happened if I give the what? The -1 value. If I run this code, and so the logical result for given us to 1. But how did this happen in these code structures? Firstly, you should remember that the OR operators or the AND operators is looking for what? For the non-zero value. -1 is a non-zero value, or 0 is a 0 value. Okay? And so if I push the 1 or 5 or 100 or 1 billion times or 1 billion value to this place, and so every process is given to the what? Is given to the non-zero value. And so result 4 return us to what? To 1 value at this time. Okay? And so this is how, or this no matter into these codes into the what if we use the 0 or non-zero values. Okay? You should remember that. And so how can we use this information in the what? In the loop structures. Integer I value is equal 0, integer k value is equal 0. Okay. For loops should be added in here, and conditional statements in here, like this one. And so I plus plus k plus plus can be assigned at this moment. And so cout value I k and endly. Okay. And so if I run this code, we have an endless loop in here like this one, but we can give the some conditions in here like this one. I times k smaller than 10 or I smaller than 5. Okay, we can add this condition in here. And so if I run this code, and so the 5 value is written on this page, but this termination is not running on these for loops because we have a or loops in here. But if I change these or loops with the AND loops or AND operators in here, and so the tree is the last final object on the what? On the for loop structure. we have a not changing points in the what in the usage of the while loop, the while loops or the if loops. And so if we have this kind of information in here, and so we can produce some complex conditional statements by using what, the and or operators. Okay, or we can add the sum or value with the what, with the -1. And so the every code gives us an end loops loop because this is returned to the what, the non-zero value. And so the and or operators is operated in what is proceed with the what, the returns always to -1. And so the compiler gives us or is also added these conditions into what, the not equal to the 0 values. Okay, these are the basic condition to the what, to the C++ compiler or C compiler. If we have or don't have these not equal 0 operators in here, compiler adds automatically into the what, the for loop selections. And so if I select this code, and so the always is running in this codes. Okay, but if I change this code not equal to the 1, and so the compiler adds the new completions in here, like this one. For example, this is true or not, this is not true, and so the for loop is not okay. But the compiler adds now these selections, like this one. This statement is not equal to the 0. Okay, and so if I run again this code, and so there is no left to be what, left to be run on these for loop structures. Okay, this is how we can utilize the and or operators in the conditional statements. Okay, and now we have the example 11 in here, like this one. But just now we can utilize the pointer structures in order to what, in order to create a more advanced topics or advanced examples in the for loop structures. Okay, for example, E and K should be selected in here, but integer a value and is equal to the 0 should be initialized value in here, like this one. And so K is terminated in here, or the 5 value 1 2 3 4. Okay, and so AI can be given like this time. Okay, and so AI can be selected like this one. Okay, and so E smaller than 5, and so if I run this code 0 1 2 3 4 values is updated. Okay, this is the 12 and 15 and 94. Okay, and so if I run this code, and so 0 12 32 23 and 31 and 49 should be increased in the what, in the terminal page. Okay, but how can we use the pointer iterators in a C programming language? For example, in the first place we should create the pointer structures in here, like this one. The PTR value should be utilized in what, in this domain. Okay, and so if I run this code, and so there is no syntax error in here, and so if the PTR value points to the what, the A value, we can change this A with the what, with the PTR value. Okay, and so A is also increased in these times. And so as well as this code, and then we can create some other loops in here, like this one. PTR value is increased with the what, the I value and the asterisk operators. Okay, and so if I run this code, A0, A1, A2, A3 and A4 is also showing in the what, in the terminal page selections. And so how can we use these informations In order to what? In order to obtain the increased value or index value. In the what? In the I value selections. For example, we can set the index value in here by using the pointer structures, okay? And so, firstly, I should show you that the integer index value should be obtainable with what? The ptr minus a. You remember that these notations in here, like this one, the index value should be obtainable with what? With the subtract operators in the what? The pointer types. The pointer types can be added and subtracted in the C++ programming language and also in the C programming language. And so these pointer operators returns the integer values, okay? And so in the index value should be added in here like this one. And so if I run this code, the index is equal to 0 because the ptr and a is equal to the what? Is equal to the 0 because is equal to ptr and a is equal to each other, and so this gives us the return values as a 0. But if I change this code a 2 value in here like this one, and so this ptr gives us the what? The index is equal to what? 2, okay? And so we should know that, or it's said that in this code we can add or subtract any pointers in the C or C++ programming language. And so these operations we are adding or the subtracting gives us to what? The integer values, okay? And so how can we use this information in the what? In the these diagrams. Okay, and so if you have this kind of information in here like this one, we can comment all the lines in here, and so we can move the next example sessions in here like this one. And so the ptr is running all the times in here, and so index should not be added at this moment, and so a is equalized like this one. And so ptr should be increased with what? The ptr1 value. Am I right or not? We can write, okay? And so if I run this code, and so this gives us the, it's not a proper selections in here. Okay, and so the I value should be increased in here like this one, and so only I should insert values of these pointers in here. And so if I run this code again, and so 0, 12, 13 or 23 or 31 or 49 is updated at this moment, because we can increase the pointer values in here like this one. But how can I change these code selections in here? Firstly, we should remove the I value in here like this one, and so, or this I value should be in here. But if we have this 5 value in here, and so we can select ptr begin value is equalized to the a, and so if we have this kind of information in here, we can use the ptr begin value with what? The ptr value in here. And so in each case we can use this analogy, because the ptr is increased in the address pointing operations, but the ptr begin is not changed. It's indicating to what? The beginning address of the what? These arrays. And so if I change this code like this one, and then the A0, A1, A2, A3, A4 is updated at this moment, okay? And so as well as I can change this I value in here like this one in these notations. And so if I run this code again, and so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is obtained in what? In this code. But you should remember ptr and ptr begin is an address notation or address value or address type of this what? The integer values, okay? And so if I subtract the two values, the PTR and PTR begin values, with what? With each other, and so this produces the integer values. And so the everything is inside value is stored in these notations. And so the PTR is also given to what? The address values of the this A matrices, okay, or arrays. And so if I obtain the inside value of this PTR, and so we can reach the values of the 0, 12, 23 or 31 or 49 value. And so in each iteration we can obtain these notations like this one. Okay, this is the basics or the fundamentals of what the vector and list classes or templates in the CPP programming language. Okay, we will learn about the iterator concept in the C++ programming language, and so this is the basic notations or the simplest implementation of the what the iterators in CPP programming language. Okay, and so in the every advanced the for loop structures in the what in the C++ programming language we have utilized these notations because the pointers as a universal address notations. And so if you have a value of the anything in here like this one, the integer I or a value is a local variable, okay, but the pointers represents the specific RAM values on the what, on the memory, physical memories. And so we can reach the any values or any memories by using the pointer structures. And so if I push or if I create the for values or for loops by using the pointer structures, and so this is the more universal notation in order to what, in order to iterate to any variables or any arrays or any values in the what, in the given in the CPP programming language. This is how we can create the professional codes in C++ programming language. Okay, and so in this week we have an end in this lesson. In here I hope you learn about how we can use the for loop in an advanced way with the usage of the what, the many conditions and conditions operators and or values or the pointer structures on pointer notations. Okay, have a nice day, guys.